Psychological Disorders Part 3. World Health Organization WHO defines mental wellness as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope up with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make contribution to his or her community. In example 2, we can see that in spite of all difficulties, Pramila does not succumb to unfavorable life circumstances. She is able to work hard and is striving to get out of the stressful situations. She is able to face difficult situations boldly. Though she is experiencing psychological pain of the stress, she is able to make use of all her abilities and is able to see herself as contributing to the society by having a dream of helping the needy students in the future. In example 3, though Santosh is having psychological disorder, he is struggling through his illness. He is trying his best to develop himself as a normal person again, who will be contributing fruitfully to the wellness of his family. In contrast to this, in example 1, we find that Karan, in spite of having successfully gained admission in a reputed engineering college, is considering himself as well as his achievements as useless. He is not making the best of his abilities and sees no goals for his life. Similarly, in example 4, we find Lalita succumbed to the adverse life situations and finds herself lonely. She finds her life aimless, which means without goals, and sees no future. She has no energy and is not making good use of her abilities. On the basis of the above, we can identify few important aspects of mental wellness. First, emotional aspect. Sense of well-being, feeling of overall happiness and contentment, satisfaction. Second, psychological aspect. Sense of being worthy, which is high self-esteem, high self-confidence and tendency of self-actualization, which is tendency to develop one's abilities fully, ability to take the right decision, the ability to influence the environment to satisfy one's need, and the tendency to contribute towards society or community. Third, life philosophy. Having a purpose in life, having clear life goals and a direction in life. In short, mental wellness is a state of successful performance of psychological functions, resulting in productive activities, fulfilling relationships with people, ability to cope up with stress, and ability to change and adapt. Similar to mental illness continuum, mental wellness also is on a continuum. On one end, we find people with good mental wellness, while at the other end of the continuum, we find people with poor mental wellness. Wellness continuum can be better understood using the following diagram, which is based on illness. Wellness continuum model given by John Travis in 1972. This is the diagram of illness-wellness continuum given by John Travis. The horizontal line A denotes illness continuum, while vertical line B denotes wellness continuum. So we get 4 compartments or quadrants. The individual in quadrant 1 has no mental illness. He experiences happiness and feels confident to face difficulties. This is the ideal state of functioning. In quadrant 2, also the individual has no mental illness, but he experiences subjective feeling of grief or unhappiness and sees no goals in life. Individual belonging to quadrant 3 is suffering from mental illness, but in spite of illness, he experiences high sense of subjective well-being, has good self-esteem and is hopeful. While in quadrant 4, we find the individual having twofold problems. He has mental illness and at the same time he experiences distress and sees no goal in life. At times, personality disintegration is also observed. This is the lowest level of functioning. Just as our physical health is not the same all the time, and when faced with illness, we take treatment and regain our health, in the same way, our mental health is also not the same all the time. And when faced with psychological illness, one can take help of an expert and can regain one's psychological health. Mental disorders, its classification. All disorders, be it psychological or physical, need to be classified because the treatment is directly dependent on its type and the causes. For proper diagnosis and treatment plan, one needs to know which type or category of disorder it is. For example, if an individual has a fever due to infection of malarial parasite, his treatment plan will be different than the individual who has fever due to typhoid. For this purpose, classification of disorders is very essential. For physical disorders, the classification is mainly based on the root cause, which is etiology. Unfortunately, the causes for various psychological disorders are explained differently by various perspectives and theories in psychology. More research is needed for this. Moreover, we have just studied criteria for the abnormal behavior where you might have noticed that there is no reference of etiology or causative factors. The main emphasis is on the cluster of symptoms or syndromes. So, classification of mental disorders keeps changing. Nevertheless, attempts are made to make the classification more and more scientific. Psychological disorders are of many types and categories. Presently, there are two major systems to classify psychological disorders.